Hey everyone. Hopefully my microphone is now working a bit better than it used to be. Sounds nice. Good. Good to hear. Hello everyone. How are we all doing today? Da, 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 da. Ah, interesting. Where is the game stream? What? Struggling to predict the Bitcoin price. Yeah, join the club actually. Join the club. Sort of join the club. So my Bitcoin chart is up here actually. And I drew this line not long after the last stream when I noticed this peak. Well, in fact, I actually just kind of noticed that these two connected. It actually connects further up as well. And I was pretty sure that when we hit it here, we were going to bounce back down. But for some reason, I just didn't feel comfortable opening a short and closing some of the profitable trades I had here. So I've written it down, and then I actually opened two shorts when it looked like we were going to break down from this support level here. So we're currently on a 1 hour chart, but if we go on to like 15 minutes, it's a bit more obvious where it looked like it was going to break down. So this move down here, so I bought in the middle of this move down, probably about here-ish. A short position, expecting that we could drop down here. But yeah, Bitcoin's been challenging. But I definitely feel like we are consolidating. Things seem a bit more stable. Like if you look at how much it was moving a week or so ago, if you go onto like a daily chart, whoa, we're zoomed out. Go onto a daily chart, you know, these moves are much bigger. Like the size of each candle on every single day is a lot bigger than the kind of sizes we're getting now. So I think that's pretty good news. It'll be interesting to see where it goes as we continue in this little triangle, this little wedge. I haven't seen Storm go, no. Yeah, I always seem to be auto-hosting Ziggy. Yeah, markets are closing in 2 hours. Markets are closing in 2 hours. But I figured, like, I had a few people asking if I could do streams later. And I also didn't really feel like streaming earlier today, so I figured I'd see what it's like streaming later, see if there's like different people able to tune in. I haven't spoken about Dropbox yet. I'll talk about that soon. But yeah, I was kind of intrigued to see if there are perhaps other people that may wish to watch that are, you know, working or whatever. Streaming at this kind of time gives people time to get back home from work or whatever and put it on the background while they're cooking food or doing whatever it is that they do. So I figured I'd give it a go. But yeah, no, the Bitcoin situation is interesting. I'll see what happens. I mean, I still expect that it looks like this move here is already kind of fizzled out, to be honest. But we have got the parabolic SAR still on the side, so it could move upwards to here potentially by the end of the day or early hours of the morning, and then go for a second run down. We'll see which way it goes. But I don't think we're likely to break out of this until another week or so. So Prices should continue to consolidate roughly where we are, and obviously there's more downside potential in this range than there is upside potential. You can't really go much higher than here unless we have a breakout, which would be nice, obviously. But so I've still got 2 shorts open. I'm going to keep them open until I see a sign of us breaking out of this. And interestingly, for the I did just get a bunch of feedback on my post that I'm streaming. People disgruntled asking for written updates. So yeah, I mean, I'll do that. Yeah. Jesse has actually been working on a survey to send out to everyone as well soon to try and get some feedback on what kind of content you guys like, how you like to consume it, when you like to consume it, how long you've been copying for, all this kind of stuff. So I can really see what people want and try and better cater to everyone's needs. Da, 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 da. I didn't even notice that cheer, by the way. Thanks for the cheer. Come to the dark side. Of 1 bit. Can't see symbols. What symbols? What symbols? Yeah, MU earnings were yesterday. I was listening to the report earlier. I actually still have it open. Yeah, I mean, nothing super outstanding. Just good. Generally good. My resolution is too big. Oh, you mean these over here? You don't need to see those. I need to see them because I need to click on them. But this is the only thing you need to see is what this chart is. And I always try and tell people what the chart is when I open a chart. So, and generally I keep my layouts roughly the same on each screen. So between streams, so it should always be pretty similar. Yeah. Getting loads of comments now. Jesse's answering some. Later works for me, Jay. That's good. Da, 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 da. So this is interesting. Interesting feedback from both of these guys, kind of wanting more like of what's going on each week. So maybe I should just publish my weekly reports as well. Might help. I wonder if they watch my weekly update videos or not. What makes you believe Bitcoin prices follow a pattern you can discover when trades are made by individuals for all different short-term reasons? What's in the news, etc. Can't you make a pattern out of anything? Yes. So effectively, you can, and that's why technical analysis, generally speaking, works. Because what happens is people like to see patterns, and people tend to see very similar patterns. And if a lot of people see the same pattern and act off that pattern, then it effectively becomes self-fulfilling. I mean, some people, genuinely believe that there's other reasons why it works, like, mathematical reasons, like the Fibonacci, for example, is something that's seen throughout nature and science. It's just a number that kind of recurs a lot in everything. So, some people think that, it's just natural that would also occur a lot in trading. But in reality, I think it's more of self-fulfilling prophecy. Something like the Fibonacci is extremely powerful during corrections in cryptocurrencies because it is one of the first things that traders learn. And most traders in cryptocurrencies are pretty new to trading. So what's one of the first things they learn? It's the Fibonacci. Same with support resistance levels and ascending, descending triangles, things like that. Like the real basics are what works very well in cryptocurrencies. So that's what I tend to rock with most of the time, because I believe that other people are looking at the same thing as me, and generally it works reasonably well. Sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes it does. I also like the parabolic SAR just because it kind of helps me measure the momentum of moves. So that's why I use the parabolic SAR, which is one that is less used. Yeah, and the RSI is obviously one that's super useful as well. What do you think about the hard wallet situation with a ledger? You mean the situation with the hack by the 15-year-old? Or exploit, I should say. I assume. Yeah, it's interesting. So I actually bought 2 Ledger Nanos, and they arrived the day the exploit was found, and I was halfway through setting them up when Ledger released a patch for it, and the patch was very broken. Everything wasn't working correctly. So I actually spent a very long time just trying to get my ledgers to work, and I was like, this is a terrible experience. Why would anyone use these things? You know, it took me like 2 hours to get them updated and patched and stuff. And I'm like, why didn't they just send it patched? And then of course I realized that all of this stuff had been happening on the day that I had been setting them up. Realistically, ledgers are pretty damn safe. It comes down to making sure that you're sourcing your ledgers from a trusted source. And, you know, it's the same as a paper wallet or any other hardware wallet. Like, you should only use it if you are 100% sure that it has not been tampered with in any way. So, yeah, not great, but I don't think it's a real problem, to be honest. I think it's slightly overhyped. But it was a good response from Ledger. They were very quick to respond, so... What's my feelings about EOS? Is it going to be replacing Ether? EOS is the second largest part of my portfolio and has been for about 6 months now out of my crypto portfolio. So, yes, I do think it will. I don't think it will replace Ether. Ethereum will still exist and still provide, you know, good value on various different things and outperform EOS in some situations. But I broadly believe that EOS is a better cryptocurrency for building dApps than Ethereum is currently. Yeah, don't buy a ledger from a third party. Exactly. Like realistically, you've got to ask yourself when you're buying a hardware wallet, you know, why would you skimp? Why would you purposely try and save a bit of money by getting one from eBay or from anywhere that is not the place that manufactures it? You know, you're talking about something that's for security. You wouldn't buy a safe from eBay because that would be, well, you might do, I suppose. Safes are a little bit different, I guess. It's a bit more tactile. You can really see if it works. But you get the idea. Like you wouldn't buy a lock for your front door from your house from like the local market. It just seems a bit silly. Can I talk more about the parabolic SAR? I was also going to talk about Dropbox. There's a few things I need to talk about, actually. Which is weird, because before the stream I was like, oh, there's nothing to talk about today. Is there much point in doing a stream? Jesse can tell you that I've been moaning most of the morning about streaming. He's literally typing right now about how much I've been moaning. Okay, early afternoon. I wasn't moaning any of the morning. Because I was up late watching Formula 1 and playing Sea of Thieves. Okay, so let's see. What shall we talk about next? Let's talk about the parabolic SAR quickly. Just because someone asked, and I like the parabolic SAR. Okay, so I've moved up to my top screen, and I'm just going to maximize Micron, which is the top left window. So here we have MU, Micron, and these little dots underneath the candles, that is the parabolic SAR indicator. So trying to remember what settings I have set on my parabolic SAR. I will have to find out by clicking on it somehow, he says, forgetting how this works entirely. Genuinely do not know where to find my settings for the parabolic SAR. Okay, it's up here. Properties. I've lost it. Man, I do not use this website enough. Format. Maybe it's format. Yeah, there we go. It's in format. Inputs. There you go. So these are the settings that I use for parabolic SAR. Basically, these settings control like how far above candles it starts and stuff, like if it is tied to the top of the stalk and like what rate of speed it kind of catches up with the price, things like that. That's effectively what the different inputs control for the parabolics are. But basically, the idea of it is that these dots catch up with the price. So if there is a bull movement, such as this movement here, you can see the dots underneath the price and they slowly catch up over time. And so the idea is that as it gets closer, you would know to potentially close out a position. And likewise, open a position in the opposite direction, usually. So MU is the bit I picked is actually a really bad example because we have this like weird mega candle here. But if we go into, let's say, a 4-hour view, it's a little bit clearer. So for example here, you can see like this move really doesn't have very much momentum. You've got small candles as it is. And as we're coming up, it's really close to connecting up here. And you're like, this has got to connect soon because it almost connected here, almost connected here. So probably you closed out some of your positions here and some of your positions here. And then as it connects, again, same thing, going the opposite direction. You can see it nice and wide here, so you know not to close this early. But as it gets narrower down here, basically one of the easiest ways to do it is to compare it to the length of the candle as it's getting closer. If the distance is about the same as the length of the candle or less, then it's at that point that you really want to consider closing out. But you've also got to use it in combination with other indicators. You never want to use just one indicator. Gear icon. So yeah, overall, yeah, it's one of my favorite indicators. It just kind of measures momentum and stuff, and it's really useful for making some quick trades. Like here was super interesting. You can still see that on MU there's actually a pretty big gap here. So opening positions now, probably not the best idea, but it's difficult because this is obviously an earnings period, so you've got to bear that in mind. You've also got to consider the RSI. We're already reasonably low, but there's a lot further that it could go on the RSI. So the same thing is basically said by this here. Yeah, that's it. Stands for stop and reverse, by the way. The SAR, stop and reverse. Da 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 da. Coins to buy. What is the thing to buy right now? Good question. Let's have a look on CoinLib. I mean, even though EOS has moved up into 6th place, I still think EOS is a good buy. I think Litecoin is a reasonably good buy. Like it should surpass Bitcoin Cash at least, and it will probably outperform Bitcoin. Honestly, there's not that much crypto-wise that I'm super keen on as like a great bargain at the moment. Nano's still a good price. So Nano, if you don't have any Nano yet, Ryblox, as it used to be known, that's worth picking up. Apart from that, there isn't really that much at the moment, to be honest. I'm still a fan of PivX. I'm still a fan of Augur. I'm still a fan of 0x. Yeah, so there's a few cryptocurrencies that I'm generally a fan of, that I think are building good tangible products and making good progress that will prove themselves to be valuable when the inevitable next bear market comes. Because this bear market was nice for removing some of the rubbish. Like if you look at the top coins now, there's a lot less junk in it. There's still quite a bit, but there's a lot less than there used to be. Yeah, I mean, Loop Ring is another good one. I think that's just outside the top top lot. Walton Chain I think is good. Status is good. Yeah, like there's nothing that stands out at the moment as a particularly good buy right now. I don't think. Like I was looking at it earlier, but I don't think there's anything that actually stands out as now you should buy this now rather than any other time in the past week or the next week, really. At the moment, although one ICO I'm looking forward to is Definity. So I guess keep your eyes out on that, maybe do a bit of research on it. And look for yourself. Me and Jesse have been working quite a lot yesterday and today on some cryptocurrency reviews of ICOs that are upcoming. So yeah, I guess you guys will hopefully see the first of those next week as we publish it, and we'll try and churn them out as and when there are projects that we find interesting, really, or that we feel need review. Perhaps because everyone else's opinion we feel is wrong, or something like that. More questions. In a slow couple of months. Blah 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 blah. Yeah. That VIX though. That VIX. Why is eToro picking coins only after they moon? Because eToro is the third largest website for buying cryptocurrency. So eToro needs a lot of volume because they don't actually, they aren't technically an exchange themselves. They're a broker. They connect you to other exchanges for things. So, for example, something like Monero, although it is a big cryptocurrency, it's not on that many exchanges that are regulated and trustworthy that eToro can work with. It's not on Coinbase. It's not on. I mean, it's on a lot of things actually. So maybe they'll add Monero soon. Maybe that's one of the ones they'll add. Same as EOS and stuff. But if you go further down, by the time anything reaches the top 20, it's mooned, quote unquote, probably. And if it's outside the top 20, then it's not on enough exchanges for them realistically to support it. I don't think so. If we scroll down and look at some of the options, for example, something like Augur, which I really like as a project, it's on 10 or 15 different exchanges, but it's not on any of the big exchanges, and it doesn't have high volume. Like if you actually look at the volume here, even wrong place. So I think this is 24-hour volume, judging by the fact it says 24 hours, and we order it by volume. You can see that down here it's pretty slim on volume. Like you've got to consider that a trader like myself, for example, if I opened 1% of my portfolio into that's you're talking $200,000, $250,000 for 1%. So if I open 10% into it, then that's a big order that will affect the market, and they can't partner with every single exchange. Oh, I'm on the wrong screen. My bad. So bad at this. Zagara is literally loving life today. This cat is just been rolling around. I'm covered in her fur. Yeah. So anyway, good coins. Yeah. No good coins, but I'm scrolling up and down, and yeah, the volume you can see is here, and there just isn't the volume in the smaller cap coins. Like, look at this. That is just nowhere near enough volume on a daily basis to be supported by somewhere like eToro. Even if you look at some of the top ones, okay, no, the top ones are pretty good actually. The top ones are actually okay. Like Stellar though, Stellar's a bit lower. Thoughts on AMD, Nvidia, when to buy? Honestly, Nvidia is a difficult one because I really don't see them performing badly for like the next 2 years. They've got so much in the pipeline. They're absolutely in prime position to take advantage of the growth in autonomous vehicles and a lot of machine learning stuff that is GPU intensive in terms of cloud side, server sides, computation. Yeah, you know, they're miles ahead of AMD in terms of graphics. So, you know, they're effectively controlling that market and just feeding out new things as and when they choose, really, and pretty much picking how much to give us as well in terms of performance each time. For AMD, AMD is super volatile. I think now's a great time to buy because it's under that like $11 price again, and it's been trading between $11 and let me find the chart. It's been trading between $11 and like $12.50 for the past 6 months now. So here's my AMD chart down here, and yeah, I mean, if I zoom out, you can see really clearly like how long it's been trading in this range, and we're towards the bottom of it now. There's another support level below. Very unlikely to go below this price, because that would involve valuing it at less than it was worth at the start of last year, which is pretty insane because they've done a lot in that year. So yeah, I mean, there's a big scare at the moment because of the news regarding the vulnerabilities, but if you look into it, they're not really very major vulnerabilities, and those vulnerabilities actually affect Intel as well. So I did post a link on eToro a couple of days ago to a video by Adored TV as well, which is who I mentioned on my last stream as someone whose video I was looking forward to watching on that specific issue to see how it goes. But yeah, I think now's actually probably one of the best prices you're going to get before their earnings report. And by now, I mean like within the next week or so. But probably now. It looks to me like this move is running out of momentum now. Like if you look at the RSI, we're pretty low. We're on a 4-hour chart, yes. RSI is pretty low. Parabolic SAR is kind of catching up, but not super fast. So maybe we have like a couple more candles left. But if you look at the length of the candles as well, they're getting shorter. We've already had 4 in a row in this little run here. So yeah, I would say now is a pretty decent time to be getting in on AMD if you don't have any positions. Da, 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 da. Can I quickly explain what a candle is? Yeah, a candle's really simple. Nope. Oh, I need to stop doing that, don't I? I'm always moving these lines by accident. I should really lock them. Someone told me that I can lock them, and I've entirely ignored his advice until now. So currently we are on 4-hour chart. So that means that every candle represents 4 hours worth of time. And obviously, because this is a stock market, the market's closed and open, so there's massive gaps between the candles. So that's how you get things like this happen, where at the end of the day it closes at this price, and then the next day it opens and it's opening up at this price. So the colors are determined by whether the price goes up or down during that period of time. So, for example, this candle here means that when that period of time started, that 4-hour chunk of time started, the price started higher than it ended. The start price is indicated by the flat bit of the candle, the top here. So let me zoom in really, really close so you guys can properly see it. Oh no, stop moving the lines, you maniac. What am I doing with my life? I'm trying to find a nice candle to use as an example. There aren't really very many. I guess I'll use one over here somewhere. Let's use these ones here. So this green candle, because it's green, we know that the price went up during this period of time. And this flat bottom here would be where it opened. Now, these thin bits that come out each side are the wicks. So the top of the candle up here, this is where it closed during that period of time, and the wicks each end shows how high and how low it went during that period of time. So this is the start point, this is the end point, and the wick, so it went all the way up to here, and then it came all the way back down and ended here. And there's a tiny wick at the bottom, but you can barely see it. And then with the red candle, obviously it's the same bit in reverse. So it started the price here, and then it went down to here. But before it went down, it went up a bit and then went down. So if there's really big wicks on candles, then it shows more volatility effectively. Another really important thing, so there's different like candle formations and things. But something like this candle over here. Oop. Oh no, I've zoomed in too far and now I've actually lost the candle I was looking for. Okay, yeah. So this candle here, you can see it's got a really long wick at the bottom of it and a very small candle at the top. And it's right at the bottom of this big trend. And that basically shows that it really hit resistance on this support level. So you can see that there's a support level right here. And it tried to go below the support level. There was loads of buying pressure to buy it back up to the support level. And it ended slightly in the green. And then we saw that basically hold for a reasonably long time, this support level hold, and it even pushed for a move up a couple of levels. So that's called a hammer candle. Someone called it Thor's hammer in like my last stream. I can't remember who it was, but someone referred to it as Thor's hammer. And they're pretty common at like the tops and bottoms of little moves, like here for example, another one. Yeah. So that's candles. Now you know. Late to the party. Hope I didn't miss much. I don't think you missed too much. So let's kind of go back to where we were. Go back on eToro and see how our moves are doing for today. I haven't really done very many trades today. The only one I've opened is Square, because they had a nice healthy retreat. I actually closed a position, I think yesterday. It might have been yesterday. It might have been the day before. I made a cheeky couple of percent. I think it might have been here actually. I rode the wave back up. But the position I've opened is more of a long-term position because that was a really healthy drop by them. You can see here. So nice entry point back into Square for a first entry. Not like, you know, not thinking super long term, but I think Square's doing well, so it should continue to do so for a while, judging on how they've been performing. Cool. What do I think Bitcoin will be worth at the end of 2018? I said at the start of the year, between $40,000 and $55,000. I'm still pretty happy with that estimate. What are your feelings on Trump's recent proposals to put embargoes on China? Which companies do you see it affecting? So obviously it's primarily going to hurt basically companies that actually have tangible products. So companies that are tech companies are generally going to be less effective. Companies that aren't doing any importing or exporting of anything within their supply chain at all are going to do pretty good. So companies like that would mean, for the most part, Google, Microsoft, the major tech players, Twitter, even Amazon to a certain extent. Although they have a lot of products that they're moving around, generally there's not that much moving around between countries so much. And of course, it's not technically their inventory for the most part either. Companies that it's going to affect really badly are companies that rely on a lot of parts from different countries. So, for example, I invest a lot in solar, and both First Solar and SolarEdge, which are US companies, import a lot of stuff from China, including in some cases just the entire panel. They literally just order the panels from China because that's where they're built, and then they do whatever they do with them and export them to the rest of the world. So yeah, there's a lot of companies that are going to be hit pretty hard by it. Even Tesla has got a lot of components that go into their cars, and their supply chain is linked to something like 16 different countries, I think, for all of their different parts. So yeah, it affects pretty much everyone badly. I mean, honestly, if I can be entirely blunt, I think it's a fucking retarded move by Donald Trump to try and start a trade war. I really do. Like, it's just stupid. It doesn't help anyone. It just makes everything more difficult. Like, some things you really can only get in certain countries, and certain countries will always be cheaper for manufacturing of things. So it's a bit like Brexit, when people say they want manufacturing jobs to come back to the UK, and I'm like, why do we want manufacturing jobs back? They pay lower. There's really, like, some of them, yes, sure, like specialist stuff, definitely, but we're never going to compete with China at making t-shirts. That's just never going to happen, because they purposely devalue their currency and everything else to try and assist with that. So it's a strange move. I don't think it'll last too long, to be honest. Maybe maybe 6 months, maybe a year, maybe 2 years maximum, before eventually it's resolved. But yeah, basically the best place to put your money is in companies that don't deal in physical things, really. So even banks and cryptocurrencies are a pretty good bet. Financial companies. We need to devalue our pound to improve exports. That's not true. Most of what we export is in those fields that I just mentioned: the financial sector, the web, and effectively software sector. A lot of things like engineering, and science. Cambridge was really a hub for science in all of Europe. Lots and lots of companies based there. It just seems like a very strange thing to do to me, the UK, because those industries are going to get hurt a lot. Like, yes, of course it will help manufacturing, but for how long? Because automation is coming anyway. Automation is moving on regardless, and what I don't understand, why we put ourselves into a position where we can then be disrupted. Like, sure, it could work for like 5 years, it could work for 10 years, but in the same way that Tesco now has an awful lot less staff because of the self-service checkouts, as does every other supermarket, the same will soon be true for delivery drivers, and then the same will be true for people that help make t-shirts, people that build cars. Machinery will eventually replace pretty much everything, and we are much better suited to be in the place where we are building those machines and programming the machines and teaching the machines and working on machine learning and all these kind of things than anything else, I think. China's a really smart country. They really are smart. A bit ruthless in a lot of ways, I think, but yeah, I mean, I kind of have some respect for Donald Trump for at least sticking by what he said he would do, but It just seems so short-sighted. Really, I think you're much better off retraining um, than moving into industries that are effectively dying out in terms of how many jobs they provide anyway. Who do you think is the safest trader on eToro? Wow. I don't know. I've not really thought about that too much, to be honest. I think I think there's lots of them, really. But I would genuinely say that I think people who focus on one thing and one thing only, um, such as one of the forex pairs. So maybe someone like Good Going, who I already think is one of the best traders on eToro, and he changed his trading style to have lower risk. So I would say that he's pretty up there as one of the safest. He really is a big believer in not like doubling up on positions when you're in the red, which is something that I do loads. So I open a trade and I effectively dollar cost average my way into trades and out of trades. But he doesn't believe in that at all. He believes in you set your stop loss for one trade, you do it all in one trade because you don't need more than one trade. That's it. If you calculated it correctly, then everything will go fine. He's very, very calculated in how he trades. Very, very specific. Really quite patient as well. And of course, he focused on just one thing, so it's a bit easier to keep track of everything. He's not looking at earnings reports from 20 different companies and constantly checking the news around those companies, and also looking at different companies that could be moving into the same field as those companies that could disrupt them. So compared to someone that's like a tech stock trader, such as myself, or someone who's a cryptocurrency trader, there's a lot more inherent safety in just how much knowledge he needs to know. He needs to care about the US dollar and the British pound, and that's more or less it. And sometimes he takes opportunities on other things. Yeah, Germany. Replying to Heavy Mossman, Germany is a good example of a manufacturing based country that is manufacturing the smart things to manufacture. They're a bit over reliant on the car industry and things like that, for example. But Germany for a long time has been very, very forward thinking in terms of its approach to what it manufactures and how it kind of builds its economy. It's really focusing on future, sustainable things to be building. And I'm just not sure on the UK in that respect. The other thing is that it's a difficult thing to transition an entire economy towards something like that. It's not an easy thing to do. It can work. It can definitely work. But I think we're probably likely to lose that fight, because I think Germany has already effectively got most of that market. We have some of it, and specifically in the more scientific fields, we're really, really strong. And I think that's where leaving the EU hurts us, because I think we were receiving a lot of European funding for it, and there were a lot of European scientific based projects that were effectively hosted in the UK. That we could now lose, and I think there was a lot of potential for more to come, as things like CRISPR technology with CAS9 is evolving, and I don't know, a bunch of stuff. I mean, like I also think cryptocurrencies is like a big no-brainer that countries should be targeting. Certain states that have perhaps slightly struggling economies, but have good infrastructure for the internet and things like that, and finance, should definitely be targeting cryptocurrencies as an easy way of bringing a lot of jobs and money into the country. And I think the UK is actually one of the best countries, ironically, situated to do something like that. We have an absolute wealth of developers and software engineers in this country. We obviously have a brilliant fintech scene, especially in London, but also in like Manchester. It seems odd that we wouldn't effectively try and incentivize companies to come here and work in the UK on their cryptocurrencies and build legislation especially for it. Switzerland has done it, and they were the other obvious solution for where it could happen. So I don't know. Feels weird that the UK hasn't done it. Missed opportunity, I think. Dash. I've had like three people ask about Dash. Dash, I definitely got wrong when I thought it was going to go up. I was pretty bullish on Dash like November, and it did do, it did well. It did better than Bitcoin during that rally, actually. But it has also fallen much worse than Bitcoin and actually most other cryptos during the correction. So, yeah, not brilliant, not my best call. But I think I looked at their roadmap again and looked at some of the progress, and I recently linked a video that I mentioned in my weekly update video, my last weekly update video, of Dash's effectively proof of concept on some of the new implementations that are coming in Dash Evolution version 13, which is due for a release in June. And yeah, it looks really cool. The idea of storing contacts and like being able to add friends and add merchants and things like that in a nice user interface, never interacting with all those long strings for cryptocurrencies. It's pretty appealing, to be honest. And like it looked very rough around the edges, but obviously it's just a proof of concept. So yeah, I'm quite excited about that. So I think maybe we have to wait a bit longer than I had hoped, but Dash is definitely cryptocurrency that is investing in all the right places. They're doing a lot of research to ensure that they can scale and scale well. So I think they're in a decent position. Oh man, I've started like a big debate in the chat. Also, my watch is going absolutely bonkers with notifications from eToro. There's a lot of things in here that I want to reply to, but obviously I'll do that after the stream. Do I do day trading? Yes, but not every day. It really depends on the market conditions, and I would say I'm more like opportunistic. I look for a good move and then I just take the good move, whatever the good move happens to be. So look, you can see this parabolic SAR is about to hit on Litecoin up here. And Bitcoin, although we are on a 4-hour chart on here, so let's switch to a 1 hour so it's a bit more consistent. Yeah, so the 1 hour is looking very similar to Bitcoin. You can see that between the two of them. Bitcoin's the bottom one, bottom left, and Litecoin is top left. And then we have Ethereum over here, which is Currently not on a 1 hour. Let's fix that. Also pretty similar. And then Dash, which is also now on a 1 hour. So at the moment, there's like, you can see these moves are pretty small. So I don't think there's much to trade at the moment. Dash actually had a nice little breakout, a bit more than the others. I would say pretty similar to Bitcoin. Ethereum seems to be like the least volatile at the moment. It's like much smaller candles, much tighter ranges. How often do I update the portfolio on my websites? Is Dash my biggest investment after Bitcoin? Dash is my third. I think third. Might be fourth. Third or fourth biggest investment after Bitcoin. EOS is my second biggest. And I think Cardano might be about the same as Dash, so it kind of depends on the time of day, which one is ahead. I reduced my Dash exposure slightly and increased my exposure in EOS since I did that portfolio update. I have been meaning to do one. I only got my PC back recently. I had a bunch of cryptocurrency that got lost. I had a bunch of cryptocurrency that got stolen. So I'm kind of, I guess I'm almost figuring out how to kind of reflect that in my portfolio and kind of give an update as well. I'll probably just take a snapshot of what it is now and then explain, some of the changes that have happened since I last updated it. I also need to do a post of eToro traders I want to copy, although my second portfolio is a pretty good place to look if you want to know who I trust, I guess, on eToro. Yeah. I didn't get hacked. The exchange I was using for one of my cryptocurrencies got hacked, and I was unable to withdraw it from the exchange. And that exchange is BitGrail, and you can go and search it. It was a $170 million hack. The owner of BitGrail has been blaming Nano, the Nano core team, and saying that it was a problem that they knew about and they should have fixed and exploit like that. But plenty of other people, there's lots of evidence suggesting that it was just the website that was at fault, the exchange, and it was poorly managed. So yeah, there's an ongoing fight. There's a couple of lawsuits going on. There's several people in my Discord that were also affected by it. There are now BitGrail shares. Yep. So they're trying to pull a Bitfinex now to cover the losses and stuff. So when Bitfinex got hacked years ago, what they did is they apologized profusely, gave people as much money as they could at the time, and then gave them effectively shares in Bitfinex that paid out dividends out of the profit that Bitfinex made every month. And BitGrail are now trying to do the same thing. The problem is that the BitGrail hack was very different to the Bitfinex hack. They are nowhere near as trusted. They are nowhere near as big, and they actually only got big because they were the first exchange to offer Nano, or Ryblox as it was known at the time. So whether or not anyone will use it or anyone will trust it now, I have no idea. And in exchange for getting these BitGrail shares, you have to effectively sign a legal document saying that you promise not to try and sue them for the money that they lost. So clearly he's quite scared. The issue I have is that you get 20% of So only 80% of the nano was stolen from the exchange, 20% was left. So they will also give you 20% back immediately. So the question is, do I want to get my 20% straight away and the shares that may end up being entirely useless and worth nothing because no one trusts them, and not get anything out of legal recourse and accept the fact that I have effectively enabled a criminal, probably, to get away with it, and I haven't gone chasing him legally? Or do I follow the legal proceedings, have nothing to show for it for several years, and probably get refunded in US dollars or British pounds or something, rather than the actual cryptocurrency token in maybe 3, 4, 5 years' time, possibly? You know, it's like a bird in the hand or two birds elsewhere. I don't know what the phrase is. Two in the bush. Yeah, bird in the hand or two in the bush, whatever it is. So yeah, I'm still undecided on which way to go, but I'm leaning towards just taking the nano because I would rather have 20% guaranteed than potentially nothing or potentially more, not guaranteed. Not to mention that if they refund it in US dollars and the nano cryptocurrency goes up by 500%, then I will have the same amount of money regardless of what I do. And 500% in 5 years for a cryptocurrency that I believe is really, really good, and even Charlie Lee from Litecoin believes is really, really good. Yeah, I think I would rather just take the 20%, which is the way I'm leaning at the moment, even though morally it upsets me that I am effectively allowing the exchange to get away with what they did. And there's even every chance that it was an inside job. I don't think it was, but there is, pretty high chance that it could be. But to me, it looks like gross negligence, to be honest. But that's the story of my missing money from BitGrail. And it was, to put it into context of like how much money it was, at the time that it was stolen, it was probably my 5th largest part of my portfolio. So it was a lot of money. Is there a reason for loads of people coming from GB? Yes. There is a British office for eToro with a bunch of British people, and the marketing in the UK has been a lot heavier, focus-wise, than other markets. There were advertisements on the London Underground, there were a lot of advertisements at train stations. You can literally go and pick up a copy of the Evening Standard, and there is a section in there where eToro provide the pricing for cryptocurrencies, and they even have like a little weekly update article thing, like Day in the Life of a Trader or something it's called, which I actually wrote for once, or guest wrote for. It's only like a tiny little column. But yeah, basically they're marketing really heavily in the UK. They also market really reasonably heavily in Germany, and they're expanding. So, but yeah, the other thing is that in the UK, in terms of buying cryptocurrency, there aren't that many good options. So a lot of people from the UK who want cryptocurrency will find their way to eToro, to be honest, because eToro, Coinbase, and CoinFloor and GDAX are pretty much the 4 only really viable options. Oh, you found me from Social Trading Vlogs. I love that guy. I miss him. He's normally in the streams. He hasn't produced any videos recently. I'm very sad about that. He's a cool guy. How do I do my research for investing in stocks? Primarily through websites like Seeking Alpha and Reddit. I generally only invest in companies that I'm super, super interested in. It used to be a lot narrower than it is these days. I used to be a lot stricter on what I would invest in. But these days I invest in things slightly out of my comfort zone a bit more, and sometimes in things that I don't even know about, like oil, really. I know the basics of oil, but not that much. So yeah. But Seeking Alpha, you can actually see, like, I'm actually logged in, I think. So it's got my portfolio down the side and it shows me a bunch of stuff that I regularly trade. I need to update it on here. And I just kind of look through this pretty much every day, just to see some headlines, just in case I miss something. But I also look on like Reddit. Futurology Reddit is a really good Reddit for looking for, you know, disruptive stuff that companies may be doing. Yeah, like you just kind of got to look around, to be honest. Depending on the company, there's some good YouTube content out there. Like for Nvidia, Intel, and AMD, I use Adored TV on YouTube. He does really good summaries of like new technology that they're all coming out with. He's correctly predicted what Nvidia are going to produce several times. So he literally called the exact specifications of the Nvidia Titan X. He literally predicted the specs of that and when it was going to be released, roughly within like a month, and he was right. So I've got a lot of respect for him. Do I think that USI Tech is a Ponzi? 100% yes. Doesn't matter. Still a Ponzi. Do not trust them one bit. I called out heavily against BitConnect. I was also calling out against USI Tech and Plexcoin at the same time, and OneCoin. There's so many. Davor Coin, I called out against that. As soon as BitConnect collapsed, everyone was talking about Davor Coin. Loads of people asked me about it, and I told all of them it's a scam. And since then, the value of Davor Coin plummeted as well, as that collapsed. USI Tech is no different. Syndicator, very suspicious of that. That's a top 50 cryptocurrency, so be aware of that one as well. Pretty much any cryptocurrency that you know suggests that they're going to make you guaranteed profit is lying, especially if they guarantee it in US dollar. If they guarantee that they will give you extra coins through something like proof of stake, that's different. So like with PivX, they can guarantee you basically that you'll create extra PivX by staking off your wallet, but you don't know that currency is going to go up in value necessarily. Anything that is claiming that it's trading with an AI or something and that they can get you returns, you've got to ask yourself, if that's true, why would they share it? Why would they let anyone else have access to it? Why would they need any extra money? You've really got to think about that. And that's what USI Tech and cryptocurrencies like that rely on. They rely on people not understanding the technology. Is Nasdaq heading for a crash? I think most of the markets are heading for a crash, to be honest. It is broadly concerning. Microsoft's just done a leg down. You can see here, in fact, everything has. AMD as well. Switch this to a 1 hour. I learned how to trade by watching CNBC an unhealthy amount when I was about 13 years old, to kind of learn about markets and news cycles and fundamentals. And technical wise, I learned from Investopedia and Baby Pips. So investopedia.com, great place to, if you hear a term for candlesticks or charting or Fibonacci's and all these kind of things, you can basically search it on there. It gives you like a definition and a bunch of examples of how it works. Super useful. There's probably a bunch of really good YouTubers that teach you now as well. So yeah, those are what I would suggest. Have I ever thought about running a node? I did run a node for a pretty long time. I ran a Bitcoin node for about 2.5 years. Then I stopped running it for ages because the blockchain got really big. I didn't have that much space. Then more recently, I bought a Raspberry Pi, and semi set it up to run as a node, but never really finished it, so it's still kind of just sitting around not doing anything. So I should probably set that up again. The intention was for that to run a Bitcoin node as well, just because, you know, believe in Bitcoin. Yeah, that's it at the moment. I've mined several cryptocurrencies. I've staked several cryptocurrencies, such as PivX. I've mined Dash. I've mined Litecoin. I've mined Bitcoin. All quite a long time ago in terms of mining. But staking is something I'm very keen on. So I've harvested NEM. I've staked PivX, and I'm looking forward to staking Cardano and EOS and whatever else I can. To be honest, because staking uses so little resources. You know, you just all you need is like a cheap laptop or PC. By BCC, do you mean BitConnect? Or do you mean Bitcoin Cash? Because some people use BCC for Bitcoin Cash. But no, never used BitConnect. I was very aware that that was a complete Ponzi and called it out many times. BitConnect. Yeah, markets aren't looking too healthy at the moment, to be honest. They're not looking fantastic. I regret not selling this square that was in profit of 1.5% earlier now. But that's how it goes sometimes. So I'm pretty heavily invested at the moment. I've got 2 shorts open on Bitcoin currently. A bunch of buy positions. Some buy positions closer to profit than others, but pretty much at the moment I am in no man's land and I'm waiting for cryptocurrency to pick a direction. As you can see up here, I think that will happen within the next couple of weeks. Basically, start of April, we should have either broken out sideways or broken out above. There's also this line that we should, in theory, be breaking out of as well, but it looks like more of a coincidence because it only really lines up with, you know, a couple of places, whereas this actually, if you continue drawing it, would very nearly line up with these and actually higher up as well, if I remember right. Yep, up here. So, all in all, interesting times. Still 100% confident in cryptocurrency though. Nothing underlying it has changed, and when the stock market does collapse, I think cryptocurrencies are a safe haven of choice for a lot of people now. Save droids, not aware of it actually. Not aware of Save Droid. No, I don't think it is. I think that ship has sailed now for Ethereum surpassing Bitcoin. I genuinely thought it had a good shot of doing a flippening and then a reverse flippening. But it looks like that ship has well and truly sailed. Like Bitcoin is outperforming everything during this drop, more or less. There are a few things that have outperformed it, but like since the drop started, Bitcoin has dropped by the least, generally speaking, and has been the least volatile. Which is good. It's very good because Bitcoin is where I put most of my money prior to the drop because I felt like it was a stabler investment. Yeah, it's a big drop in the S&P. And that's just triggered as well. So, yeah. Interesting times. Still got this short on Snapchat open. I've been tempted to short Facebook. but I've resisted the urge. Still, we do still have some profitable positions in amongst this stuff. I know it's hard to see because overall it's red, but there are still a few green positions in amongst it. Although not many at the moment. AMD is one that surprised me a little bit on how far it dropped. Here's all my AMD. A lot of red at the moment, but realistically not too far given the range it generally trades in. Not too concerned about it. And we're slightly overexposed to cryptos at the moment, but we have effectively a hedge built in the sell orders in Bitcoin. So if those come through, then I'll probably consider opening some long-term shorts on some of the indices again. What do I think about Neo? I think it's very centralized currently. It is actually probably the most centralized coin in the top 10 cryptocurrencies at the moment. I also don't genuinely believe that it's that good tech-wise compared to everything else. I think Ethereum is just as good, if not better, because it's already up and running effectively. I think that EOS is better. I think that Cardano is better. And I think that IOTA is better. And I even think that to a certain extent Lisk is better. But I don't know. It's been around for a long time. It used to be called Ant Shares back in the day. Let's see how Dropbox is doing now. DBX. I keep forgetting their ticker. I keep thinking it's DPX. DBX. So pretty far down from their IPO price. A bit pointless to zoom in on at the moment because it's so little data. If we go in a 1 minute chart, it looks a bit more exciting. I'm actually not very bullish on Dropbox overall. I think it is easily disrupted and that all of their competitors have significant advantages over them. I think Microsoft, you look at their competitors and their competitors are Microsoft, Google and Apple. Like, you couldn't ask for tougher competition. And realistically, it's not that. I don't know how you innovate in that space, really. I mean, I'm actually a fan of Siacoin and some of the crypto projects that also offer cloud storage for cheaper as well. Because obviously there's not a company in the middle that needs paying. You're effectively paying directly the person that is storing your data, or the people that are storing your data. And they require less money because they don't have... It's not a job, it's just like a little mini income on the side because they have a bit of spare hard drive space or whatever. Or maybe they'll set up a little server somewhere to do it. So yeah, I'm not very bullish on Dropbox, to be honest. I think it's a decent long-term shorting opportunity potentially. Same as Snapchat was and GoPro was. So I'll keep an eye on it. I don't really want to get into it in the first couple of days of trading. I did consider opening a short earlier, and obviously I would have made pretty good returns on that actually, like minus 5% since opening price. So if I manage to get a price up here, which is actually when I was looking at it as well, then I'll be sitting pretty happy right now. But hey, no problem. If this is your first time watching anything of mine, I do re-upload my streams onto YouTube as well now. I also create weekly update videos, and I also produce some blog articles on my website, jaynemesis.com. I also tweet quite often. if you're on Twitter, if that's what you're into. And judging by some of the comments I've had today, it looks like I will be trying to post a bit more regularly, some sort of a written weekly update as well, to go alongside my video weekly updates. Yeah. Top 5 cryptos. I think actually someone asked me this in December, just before the markets were crashing. And my number one answer was EOS. I was also still a big believer in IOTA, but a lot has changed since then. So IOTA, I'm still quite keen on it. I still think it is an innovative idea and has good potential. Another one I mentioned was Nano. In terms of like performance, this is. Yeah, so Nano, which used to be called Roblox, EOS. I still think IOTA is pretty decent. I still like Dash. My last one could be something like Pivex maybe, but I've got a soft spot for Augur as a project, so I really like Augur, and Loopring's really good too, and Status is really good as well. There's a lot of really good things. It's hard to pick 5, but definitely EOS. EOS is like top of the list, and Cardano as well. Cardano's good. How far down do you think Nasdaq drop's going to go? Yeah, it's difficult to say. Like, it's difficult to say. Substantial move though. I said earlier that I think we're approaching the point where I just have to keep a short open on the US markets, basically 100% of the time for like the next year, because it's clear that there is going to be a big correction coming sometime soon. Hopefully, cryptos will benefit from that though. Best place to trade Nano, definitely not BitGrail. That's where I lost all of mine. I believe Nano is on Binance now and KuCoin, so those are two pretty decent exchanges. I prefer Binance out of the two. And the other one was Cardano, which is also on Binance. So yeah, Binance is the answer, basically. Good exchange. Right, well, I think probably I'm gonna call it a day. I said it would be a pretty short stream. We've streamed for 1.5 hours, so it's not too bad. Market closes in half an hour anyway. Edwin Vandenberg was shorting all markets for a very long time, though. Like I've actually respected the guy for a long time until he really started to get argumentative and kind of put on a tinfoil hat and went bananas. It's a bit of a shame, really, because I actually got on with him reasonably well, but that's how it goes sometimes. But yeah, I think another global recession is coming. I really, really do strongly believe it, and I think the trade wars with China is really not helping. I think the pressure that ICOs and cryptocurrencies are putting on nations and the influx of different types of scams that have come as a result of that is not helping. So you've got people investing really, foolishly. I don't know. Seems like there's a lot of borrowed money that's being invested as well. A lot of debt going around. So, sorry to be all pessimistic, but I don't think the future for most of the world is looking bright for the next couple of years. I think there's going to be some exceptions. I think Germany will continue to do well. I think the Nordic countries will continue to do well. I think some countries, some of the major leaders in Europe will do well. I think the UK will do badly, but not as badly as some other countries. I think the USA will start to do badly in some areas, but not all areas. I think China will survive, but also do badly. Anyway, as I said, I'm going to end the stream now. So thanks for watching, everyone, and I'll see you guys next time. I'll be streaming some gaming over the weekend and chilling out. As I said, I'm working on some cryptocurrency videos, some ICO reviews. I'll be working more on a format for some written content for eToro after some of the feedback from today. I'm quite surprised that it's like no feedback, no feedback, no feedback, and then like everyone kind of one person said it, and I think that kind of acted as a catalyst. So, but yeah, I'll be working on trying to get out some more content in other ways that are easily accessible to people. Cool. Thanks for watching, everyone, and I will see you next time.